I think the Game of Thrones fans out there will probably say that the writers gave zero fucks about karma. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're all here. Welcome back to another one of my character analysis videos. I'm very excited for this one because it involves my favorite series of all time. Before we get into the video, please remember, if you enjoy it, give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Let me know what you think. These videos are all about starting a discussion, so I want to hear your own thoughts in the comments below as well. Yeah, so let's get straight into it. So in today's video, we are looking at the idea of destiny portrayed through the lens of Game of Thrones, which is a very popular TV show. I reckon you probably have already seen it if you're on this video, or maybe you haven't, and this video will inspire you to watch it. It's definitely seems like a kind of niche-y type show, like, you know, old times. What is the genre actually called apart from fantasy? Like a medieval style show, which I thought I would never be interested in. I don't even know how I got into it, but it's one of those shows that just touches a whole range of people and a whole range of, like, brings in a variety of audiences. So if you have not seen it and you're thinking, like, I don't know, everyone gasses this show up, should I watch it? Please do. Please watch it. I mean, season 8 let us all down, but you can share that pain with all of us. Do you know what I mean? The kind of question of the day of this video is, are we the creators of our own destiny, or will believing so get you killed? Obviously not literally. Right, first of all, let's understand what we mean by destiny. So Google tells us destiny means the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future, or a hidden power believed to control future events or fate. So I do kind of use destiny and fate a bit interchangeably in this video. I think it's really interesting that it says in the future here, because we're not talking about the present. Destiny means something that we expect to see in a little time from now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not happening right here and now for the most part when we're thinking of it as a destiny. Or that's kind of what Google tells us as well anyway. Let me know your ideas of destiny down below. Do you believe in destiny? Do you believe that you're fated to do something, or that everything happens for a reason? Or do you believe more so in free will, or a mixture of both? Like, I feel like I'm a mixture of both. Through the characters of today's video, which will be Game of Thrones, I wish I could have chosen more characters, but I'm only looking at 4 today. Through these characters that I've chosen today, we are exploring how we think about destiny, and then how that affects our decisions as well. How do we approach the idea as humans that things may be fated? And whether you believe that you are in control of your destiny, or that it's out of your hands, how do you deal with the fact that you feel or know that this is something that you should be doing, or this is where you're meant to be? How do you deal with that feeling? And overall, is it even beneficial to us to think we know what our destiny is? Let's start off with our first character today. This is Petyr Baelish, also known as Littlefinger.
Sansa, dear, this is Lord Baelish. He's known
an old friend of the family.
That's their game. Their rules.
Appropriate for a self-made man with so many songs to sing.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a few shots. They're too toxic, need to take the noose off. And you cannot save me, 'cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing, all here for the taking. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts.
I did warn you not to trust me.
So Petyr Baelish did not grow up in a wealthy family. He naturally had no claims to titles, power, or money.
A mockingbird. You created your own sigil, didn't you?
Yes.
Appropriate For a self-made man with so many songs to sing.
And I think he also felt that this lack of power, money, or a respectful title impacted his pursuits of love, especially with Kathleen Stark. Obviously that was not her original name, but Kathleen Stark, you know, it was this whole thing throughout the show that Petyr had this crush on her, that he loved her, that he had this love for her that she could not reciprocate.
Perhaps you chose the wrong man to duel with.
Well, it wasn't the man that I chose, my lord. It was Catelyn Tully. A woman worth fighting for, I'm sure you'll agree.
He's like a little brother to me, Ned. He would never betray my trust.
I'll try to keep you alive for her sake. A fool's task, admittedly, but I've never been able to refuse your wife anything. I have only loved one woman. Only one. My entire life. Your sister.
And I think a part of his crave for power or money was to kind of appease her, was to kind of win her over in a way. So wishing to create a new destiny for himself, Baelish was set on his path.
Do you know what I learned losing that duel? I learned that I'll never win. Not that way. That's their game. Their rules.
Petyr set out to create his own destiny. He plotted and schemed and did anything necessary to reach his idea of what he believed his destiny to be. In my opinion, this was unquestionable power, the ability to be able to tell others to do something or to command something and not be questioned for it.
Knowledge is power.
Seize him. Cut his throat. Stop. Wait. I've changed my mind. Let him go. Step back 3 paces. Turn around. Close your eyes. Power is power.
A bit like when Joffrey became king. Joffrey had, like, you could see the power that being the king of the 7 kingdoms has. Like, he could command to do anything. He could do anything and pretty much no one could question him. The only one who questioned him was his grandfather, and he also had unquestionable power, right? So literally, I think this is what Littlefinger craved. It wasn't just about a title, but it was a title that came with unquestionable power. And I see that as his motive beyond money, because he did end up accumulating a lot of money for himself. I'm sure he was master of coin, and so he knew about money. He knew how to generate wealth for himself, but that was never enough for him. He still craved this kind of power, this title. Also, in the theoretical fiction that we are looking at, Game of Thrones, owning a brothel, which is how he generated his wealth, wasn't really in a respectable way to live. We kind of see people make fun of him for that or belittle him for the way that he makes his money.
Step carefully, Lord Baelish. You'll find there's little tolerance for flesh peddlers in the new King's Landing.
He wanted to be a man who was respected and someone who people couldn't say no to. So for the purpose of this video, let's say Littlefinger believed his destiny to be the ruler of a powerful house, for example Starks or Lannisters, and with that being his goal, we saw him go after Sansa Stark in particular. I think because she was young, she was naive, she obviously hadn't given birth to any children, so it would be a very legitimate marriage. Another point to clarify this is, even when Littlefinger becomes Lord of the Vale, that's still not enough for him. That's not enough power for him, because he continues to manipulate and scheme when he gets back to Winterfell.
What do you want?
I thought you knew what I wanted.
I was wrong.
No, you weren't. A picture of me on the Iron Throne, and you by my side.
But as I said, thinking you know destiny will get you killed. But again, back to his old tricks in Winterfell and thinking he had successfully manipulated Sansa again, this time against her sister Arya, he was finally brought to his death in season 7.
That's what you do, isn't it? That's what you've always done. Turn family against family, turn sister against sister. That's what you did to our mother and Aunt Lysa, and that's what you tried to do to us. When you brought me back to Winterfell, you told me there's no justice in the world, not unless we make it. Thank you for all your many lessons, Lord Baelish. I will never forget them.
This character's journey leads me to invite the notion of karma. I think the Game of Thrones fans out there will probably say that the writers gave zero fucks about karma, because it took a long time for anyone to properly get their karma, and we would probably argue that some people didn't deserve to die, but they did die. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't exactly fair. But if we just ignore all of that, if we ignore all the unnecessary deaths, maybe, we are going to talk about karma and destiny and how they could possibly be intertwined. Is karma the driving force of our destiny? You know, do we accumulate some kind of karma and that's how we reach our destiny, or is karma separate from our destiny? Karma is said to be the outcome of our moral decisions. In my mind, it's like a neutral scale, you know, its job is to balance forces or energy. For example, the type of energy you give out is returned until it really reaches an equilibrium and the scale is neutralized or rebalances again. So with saying that, at some point, if you believe in karma, at some point you must face the return of the energy that we give out, whether that is positive or negative. This is a kind of quote, or I guess a quote I took from a website that I was when I was doing some research for this video, and I really liked the way it kind of described the connectedness between karma and destiny. It says, in this journey to our destiny, we also learn the lessons of life. So destiny being the end point or the final destination, we could think of karma as the lessons that we must learn according to the decisions we make. In particular for Petyr Baelish, this would be him, you know, scheming, plotting. He was not a good person. He was not a nice person. He had bad intentions always. I don't think he had one genuine intention.
I loved your mother since the time I was a boy.
And yet you betrayed her.
I loved you more than anyone.
And yet you betrayed me.
He even married Sansa off to the most evil person. I want to know, comment down below, was Ramsay Bolton or Joffrey Baratheon worse? Which one was worse? Ramsay Bolton or Joffrey Baratheon? I would love to know what you think. I don't think I could choose, honestly. They were both like, we thought we had got rid of Joffrey and then they brought Ramsay in. That was a stressful time. So yeah, thinking about all the kind of things that he did, the output of negative energy, it would make sense that at the end he would have to succumb to some kind of death or gruesome fate. See how him believing that this was his destiny and that being the thing that drove him, how that impacted his life and ended up with him being killed. So as I was doing research for this, I kind of fell into the realm of philosophy, and it was really interesting to see what philosophy says about destiny. And one of the kind of main points that I think really resonated with these characters in this show is the idea of fatalism, which was introduced by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. So his belief was that all events are predetermined and therefore inevitable. So he believed that we kind of had a destiny. He kind of categorized the beliefs as theological fatalism and logical fatalism. So these were different explanations for how things come to be or how destiny is enacted. So theological fatalism says that destiny is predetermined by an omniscient power such as God. Therefore, our actions or our free will occurs within a fixed sphere. So we have free will up to a certain point, according to theological fatalism. But we are still have a kind of set destiny. And then in comparison, logical fatalism claims that all things happen because they were mandatory. So destiny is the driving force of necessity. This might sound a little bit confusing, but in the next two characters, I'm going to show how these two different theories about fatalism can be adopted and enacted by people. So let's start off with Cersei Lannister.
I now proclaim Cersei of the House Lannister, first of her name, Queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms.
Slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness.
Everyone wants to know their future until they know their future.
To believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
So I believe Cersei's idea of destiny was constructed on a belief of theological fatalism. Yeah, so I think to understand Cersei, we need to look at this witch's predictions for her.
I know you're a witch, and you can see the future. Tell me mine.
3 questions you get. You won't like the answers.
I've been promised to the prince. When will we marry?
You'll never wed the prince. You'll wed the king.
But I will be queen.
Oh, yes. You'll be queen. For a time.
Will the king and I have children?
The king will have 20 children. And you will have 3.
We have to go. We have to go. Cersei!
By looking at the witch's predictions, we can start to understand how Cersei became to think about her destiny and how thinking about her destiny got her killed. So the first prediction that the witch gave to Cersei was that she will be queen. She asked, "Will I be queen?" And she said, "You will be queen. But you will be cast down by someone younger, more beautiful, and this person will take all that you hold dear." As we came to know, this will just be Queen Margaery.
Margaery does a great deal of work with the poor back in Highgarden.
The lowest among us are no different from the highest if you give them a chance and approach them with an open heart. An open heart is what you'll get in Flea Bottom if you're not careful, my dear.
It makes sense why we saw such an enragement in Cersei, even though she knew that she had a son and eventually the son would have to be king and eventually the king would have to have a queen. Yeah, so we can kind of see why Cersei at first started to groom Sansa a bit, because she was very naive and easy to manipulate by Cersei and pretty much everyone else as well. But whereas when Queen Margaery came in, there was a complete shift in Cersei where she was just very angry. She felt like, you know, she was being cast aside. And this could have come from the witch's predictions initially, where she was told that this person who was younger and more beautiful was going to take everything that she held dear. And if we know anything about Cersei, it's that what she holds the most dear is her children.
Love no one but your children. On that front, a mother has no choice.
For the second prediction from this witch, she was told that she was going to have 3 children. Gold would be their crowns, but gold also their shrouds, which, if you don't know what shrouds are, they are like the garment that the dead body is wrapped in. So 2 things Cersei was told by that would be her destiny, out of her power, maybe in the hands of a god or something higher than herself, was that she was going to be cast down by another queen, and this queen was going to take everything from her, and that her 3 children were going to die. So yeah, we can see how this theological fatalism is playing out here in terms of the fact that she now held a belief about her destiny that was in the power of, or a destiny that was created by a god or an external being, or even if it wasn't that, from a witch, something that was outside of her control.
Praying to the gods to have mercy on us all. The gods have no mercy, that's why they're gods.
That failed her.
No, I knew this would happen. The witch told me years ago. She promised me 3 children. She promised me they'd die. And gold their shrouds. Everything she said came true. You couldn't have stopped it. It's prophecy, it's fate.
So in Game of Thrones, we see Cersei's obsession with staying queen. Even when everyone else leaves.
Your Grace?
All we need is one good shot.
The scorpions have all been destroyed, Your Grace.
The Iron Fleet hold Blackwater Bay. Euron killed one of her dragons. He can kill another.
Your Grace, the Iron Fleet is burning. The gates have been breached. The Golden Compass.
Our men will fight harder than sellswords ever could. They will defend their queen to the last man.
Yes, Your Grace.
The Red Keep has never fallen. It won't fall today.
She could have just left the Red Keep. She could have left. She could have gone home. She could have been like, peace out. I'm out of this war. I've done my time. I'm out of here. Like, you know what I mean? But she refused to give up that power. She refused to step down from being a queen. And also her obsession with keeping her children safe. She didn't want her daughter to go outside of the home. She locked her son up in a room and guarded him. She had this obsession with her children. And the thing is, the extreme Cersei went through to keep control of everything that she was told was going to happen, to keep control of her fate and try and stop it from happening. We could say that these extremes are what led her to her death. And because Cersei's ideas of her destiny came from the witch's foresight, she is an example of enacting theological fatalism. We see that Cersei is told and shown that a divine omniscience has control over her life. And we know Cersei loves some power. She hates losing control. So how can someone else, something that I can't see, hear, touch or kill, be in control of my life? But throughout the show, we do see the witch's predictions come to life, and we see how Cersei's inability to kind of surrender to her idea of, or this destiny that she was told, how she does everything in her power to avoid her date with destiny, and how that led her to her death. The funny thing is, the witch says nothing about her death. It doesn't say anything about how she will die. And I mean, she doesn't get to ask the third question, but let's just assume that there was no thing about her death, and her death maybe wasn't set in stone. And that's to say that she could have chosen different avenues despite everything else that was going on, despite the circumstances that were around her. She still had the choice to choose differently, and maybe that could have led her to a different outcome. But we could say that Cersei's attempt to evade destiny is what got her killed. Thinking she knew what her destiny was, and in turn trying to create a new one or stop it from happening, is what led her to dying. And like I said, even if it was possible that it wasn't her fate to always die that way, that doesn't necessarily mean that she couldn't have led a more pleasant or happier life in those in-between stages. Even with maybe her children dying, she could have had a better relationship with each one, or she could have just had a better life overall if maybe she had surrendered. For example, we even see her pushing away her brother, who is a person that she loves most. We're going to jump over the incesty part of that, but the person she loves most, which is her brother, and she ends up pushing him away.
I'm the only one you have left. Our children are gone. Our father is gone. It's just me and you now.
And who's to say that she couldn't have had a better whole kind of, life if she had just trusted that everything would work out, or she hadn't focused too hard on that end goal, on what she believed her destiny to be. So I don't think the issue is believing in destiny or fate, but being so assured to the point of putting blinders on to any other avenues available to you. Basically living so far in the future, opposed to just accepting, surrendering, and embracing the present moment. So let's move on to Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of friggin' dragons, because that is my favorite title for her.
You stand in the presence of Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, rightful heir to the Iron Throne, rightful queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the mother of dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the Unburnt, the breaker of chains.
Believe me, never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns.
I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
And even though she went a bit crazy in the end, I still fucking love that bitch. So Daenerys is a great depiction of logical fatalism.
Do you know what kept me standing through all those years in exile? Faith. Not in any gods. Not in myths and legends. In myself. In Daenerys Targaryen.
Because her belief about destiny was sitting on the Iron Throne and ruling over the Seven Kingdoms. She tells Jon Snow that I was born to rule the seven kingdoms and I will. This is a good representation of logical fatalism, because the Targaryens held a dynasty of over 300 years, which only ended due to Robert's rebellion. And because logical fatalism is the belief that things occur because they are mandatory in this world of theological fiction, in Game of Thrones, and with, say, Jon Snow's true identity being hidden, at least, she does have the best claim to the throne and the most natural claim to the throne, even above the Lannisters or the Baratheons. But again, with Daenerys, we see this pattern of not embracing the present moment, of making plans for an abstract future, or craving this destiny that isn't there, that, isn't tangible right now. And we can see this in a moment where Dario Naharis tells Daenerys that she isn't a ruler, but a conqueror. And this came after witnessing her political rule in Meereen. And seeing that, Daenerys kind of struggles to rule. She's not the best ruler. And I mean, she hasn't had that much experience, but she is a great conqueror. She's great at taking land. She's great at breaking chains, at liberating people, but maybe not the best at leading them. because herself, I don't think she's even the best at kind of making decisions for herself and leading herself. So how can she really lead others? And not everyone is a leader anyway. And Daenerys just simply states that she takes what belongs to her. So she believes everything belongs to her, so she just takes it. But again, that doesn't make you a leader, that just makes you a conqueror. And there are multiple times throughout the series where Daenerys is kind of warned to take heed and not rush into fulfilling this destiny of hers to sit on the Iron Throne. I think it's when Khal Drogo dies and Jorah says to her, take the eggs, you know, like run away, leave, sell them, and just live out your life. And if she had done that, I don't know what would have been of her, but maybe she wouldn't have died and ended up causing so much devastation. But logical fatalism convinced her otherwise. And she does have a rational belief that ruling over the seven kingdoms is part of her destiny. But again, unfortunately, she is killed trying to fulfill what she assumed her destiny to be. And throughout observing Daenerys' story, we see again how it is the character's rigidity around destiny that in some way leads them to being killed or their death. I feel like this tells us that believing we know how things will go, whether it is supported by logical or theological fatalism, that will hold you back. That believing so hard in an external abstract future is going to sabotage your present. And the idea that we can methodologically plan everything can cause ourselves more pain, or trying to methodologically plan everything, you know, setting out like, if I do this and this, and then I will reach this destiny of mine, I will reach this future. That can cause us more pain in the long run than just kind of taking things as they come. Because at the end of the day, we can only control ourselves in the present moment. We can't control ourselves in the past, and we can't control ourselves in the future, because those two things do not exist right now. And whether you have dragons or you have money like Littlefinger, or you are the queen of the seven kingdoms like Cersei was, you are not automatically deserving of a particular destiny, if that makes sense. Like, you are not automatically going to have this thing or reach this place. And the same for us, like whether we are born into money or whether we are born not into money, whether we have a particular skill or not, it is up to us every day to make those decisions for ourselves that will lead us to our end point, and to live a positive and pleasant life in the meantime. Like, we could argue that if Daenerys had stayed more present, you know, she was kind of urged to maybe stay in Meereen even and just rule over the places that she had conquered right now in the, I don't know if it was the east or where, but I guess it's kind of like east. But, you know, don't go to Westeros, because I think Jorah tells her that the Westeronians don't want to be free. They don't necessarily want you as a leader. They don't even really care. So why not just stay with these people who value you, who have appreciated everything that you have done for them, who have appreciated the fact that you have released them from these chains. By doing so, she probably could have been a very successful conqueror in a long-term sense, and maybe a successful leader as well. I think another interesting point is that all the characters I've spoken about so far, Petyr Baelish, Cersei Lannister, Daenerys Targaryen, were all killed by the person or within the place that they believe their destiny to reside. Funny enough, I've just realised that the last character I talk about as well, which I'll come on to soon, also fits into this category. I think this is so interesting. Like, Littlefinger was killed by the family that he desired to marry. I think his kind of goal was getting to marry Sansa Stark, but in the end, she's the one who gave the order for his death.
It's not what I want. It's what honor demands.
And what does honor demand?
That I defend my family from those who would harm us. That I defend the North from those who would betray us. You stand accused of murder. You stand accused of treason. How do you answer these charges? Lord Baelish.
My sister asked you a question.
And Cersei, she wanted to remain queen of the Seven Kingdoms. She didn't even want to leave the Red Keep, even if I don't even think it was necessary. Maybe it was queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but also I think that she just didn't want to leave her home, the seven keep, the Red Keep, or the other way that she lives. I can't remember what it's called, but at the end, her refusal to leave meant that she was actually crushed by the home that she had lived in and wanted to stay in, and that she believed she was destined to rule over.
Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
And then Daenerys as well was killed opposite the Iron Throne. I don't even know if she got to sit on the Iron Throne. That poor girl. I mean, Jon could have at least let her sit on the Iron Throne, I swear. I think it's so sad. I don't even think she got to sit on that throne, but she was killed just opposite it, just outside of the Iron, like, you know, in the place that she thought she was destined to rule. So I don't know, that's just an interesting point for me, that I don't think there could be anything more a literal example of thinking you know your destiny will get you killed, because for each of these characters, the idea of destiny, what they thought their destiny to be, literally killed them. Or they were killed close to it, near to it, when they thought they had achieved it. It's like for a lot of them, I don't know if they had a goal past that destiny of theirs. I don't know if they saw past this idyllic future, and maybe a part of that not seeing past it, if we think like, I don't know, literally maybe not seeing past it was because they didn't have a past it. I don't know. That's just me adding more kind of theories to this whole thing, like we don't have enough already. But anyway, let's move on to, I think I want to say my favorite character, because he just has my heart. Honestly, he just has my heart. But it's Jon Snow.
This is Jon Snow. He's king in the north.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
And your mind is a weapon, 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free. Mind causes mayhem, we could change the world, change times, rearrange them.
Sometimes duty is the death of love.
Jon Snow, I had to just throw in here because I think he is the antithesis, I hope I'm using that word right, of what I'm trying to say. He's like the person who kind of released that idea of destiny, and I think that's what saved him in a sense. So Jon was a man of ideals. He kind of grounded the show because he had a strong moral compass, and when we think of the idea of karma, a lot of the energy that he outputted was pretty positive or beneficial to others. So I guess that kind of also impacted his destiny in a way, if we think they are entwined. In turn, his kind of strong moral compass emphasized everyone else's misdoings. Like, it made it seem that everything everyone else was doing was horrible and worse, and it was bad. It was a bad thing, even though, to be honest, there was probably more people doing bad things or hateful things than good things in the show. But I think that's how Jon kind of grounded the show in a way, because he showed that there are people in this fictional world who do have good morals and who are kind of like a uplifting or positive force. And that means that these people can be seen as villains. I think if Jon spoke Latin, I think his favorite catchphrase would be Amor Fati, which means a lover of one's fate. So, growing up under the bastard name of Snow, I believe, unlike some of the other characters in the show, he accepted his fate. In particular, say, Ramsay Bolton, for example. Ramsay hated that he was a bastard. He hated it. Did he end up killing his own father, or did he die already? I don't know, but definitely did not. You know, bastards in Game of Thrones were not treated well. Like, they were literally the bottom of your shoe. So whether they were the bastard of a king or a lord, or whether they were like a bastard of I don't know. But unlike a lot of bastards in this show, Jon kind of accepted his fate that, you know, I'm a bastard, I'm gonna get on with it, I'm gonna do what needs to be done. I think as a man of ideals, he really valued rules, titles, constructs to live by, and he happily abided by many of them. I mean, a great example of this is that despite his love for his family, he headed to the wall to join the Night's Watch.
And now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory. I shall live and die at my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards from the realm of men. I pledge my life and honour to the Night's Watch for this night and all the nights to come.
And I think in doing so, in taking this oath, Jon is carrying out a literal depiction of what it means to be a bastard in this theoretical fiction. I mean, the oath states that you are going to be someone who will hold no lands, wear no crowns, and win no glory. And whether or not you're at the wall or not, or whether or not you are part of the Night's Watch, you kind of, if you are a bastard in Game of Thrones, that kind of is your fate.
Bastard boy with nothing to inherit, off to join the ancient order of the Night's Watch.
And so Jon Snow very easily succumbs to his fate, or surrenders to what he thought his fate to be. So let's speak a little bit more about the idea of Amor Fati, which was coined by this German philosopher, which I'm going to do my best attempt at saying his name in German, in its German pronunciation. So here we go. Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, I'm gonna say it Friedrich. Ugh, I'm spitting everywhere. I'm gonna say it Friedrich Nietzsche. Hopefully it's right. Who knows? Let me know what you thought of my pronunciation. So, according to Friedrich Nietzsche, Amor Fati means the love, or at very least the acceptance of one's fate. Nietzsche writes, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati. That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backwards, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it. All idealism is mendicancy, in the face of what is necessary, but love it." So Nietzsche invites us to live in the bliss of accepting our fate, not hiding it or wishing it was different, like maybe we could say Cersei did, but coming to love it and embracing it for what it is. I feel that we see Jon do this very strongly in the beginning of the series, in particular by joining the Night's Watch and taking the oath. Kind of, he knew that his destiny or his fate was limited being a bastard. He knew that he wasn't going to be the Lord of Winterfell, or whatever it was called back then, before he was a king, before it came its own kind of separate state or whatever. And he kind of accepted that by joining the Night's Watch, kind of getting out the way, letting others live out their titles and their life, and him just choosing a different path that in a way meant that he was rendering to this title that he had. I think another important note about Jon is that, unlike the other characters I've spoken about so far, is that he also acts in the moment. I mean, whilst he has a baseline of morals and he does what he believes is right, a lot of the time it is according to traditions. overall, he does make his decisions based on the present moment. For example, his love affair with Ygritte. I actually don't remember how to say her name. I can't lie. Great? Bitch, I don't know how to say it. But you'll see what's up here. If you know, you know. And it's funny that she gave us the famous line, "You know nothing, Jon Snow." Because we are kind of talking about Jon Snow being comfortable in not knowing what his destiny was. I mean, I know what she was talking about, but it is funny that in a way, Jon Snow was kind of comfortable with not knowing anything, with not knowing exactly how his life would play out. Or even if he did feel like he was destined or to do certain things, he didn't stop that from him doing other things or making important decisions in the moment, opposed to really striving for this kind of abstract future that doesn't exist yet. And I do think her repetition of this line kind of makes him realize that he is young at this point and he doesn't really know much. He doesn't know how the world works. Again, he is very idealistic in nature, but I think it also brings a lot of realism to him as he kind of ventures on his life journey. It has a dualistic meaning of him not knowing what his destiny is and also not knowing how life really works, which at a young age we kind of all have that naivety about us. Like, there's these rules and ideals and family traditions that we're meant to live up to, and that we kind of believe that this is what we're meant to be doing, or okay, this is how things are done. But as we get older, we realize that there's kind of loopholes to this, and actually not everyone follows this, and actually maybe I want to do it this way, and that's completely fine, and I'm going to be accepted despite that as well. And I do think that an acceptance of a loss of some of his ideals was necessary to keep him alive, and is what kept him alive for a lot of the series.
With luck, you will find the strength to do what needs to be done. Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Winter is almost upon us. Kill the boy, and let the man be born.
Another example of him kind of making decisions in the moment is his whole thing with the White Walkers. And in his fight against the White Walkers, I feel like he really starts to embrace the notion of Amor Fati. Because even though he is taking this oath and taking these vows, he does leave the wall in order to spread their message about this threat beyond the wall. And he also unites the North with the Northmen with the Free Folk, which is something that no one has done, no one has tried to do, and to be honest, no one really wanted to do. But he knew that this threat that was in front of him right now, this present moment, was more important than these constructs that he had been told, or these ideas that he had about what was destined or fated in life.
It's something I want to do, something I have to do, but it'll divide the Night's Watch bitterly. Half the men will hate me the moment I give the order.
Another example as well is when he left for Dragonstone in order to convince Daenerys to give him Dragonglass. Even though this came after him being named king in the North. And I think this was such a powerful moment for him, because again, he could have just said, like, you know what, I'm king now, I'm just gonna do what kings, are told to do. He realized that in this moment right now, in order to convince this person, I don't know, he would need to be there to convince her.
I know it's a risk, but I have to take it.
Then send an emissary, don't go yourself.
Daenerys is a queen. Only a king can convince her to help us.
It's just like the decisions that he made were made to fit the present moment, to suit the current situation. And I think that allowed him to just progress so much further in life. Yeah, so we see Jon Snow choosing to think on his feet and make decisions in the now, unlike many of the other characters who do think they know what their fate is and end up being killed by that idea. I think as well, Jon Snow's resurrection from death even emphasizes this point that I'm trying to make about the downfalls of thinking thinking you know what your destiny is. After, he kind of ignored the ideal of, okay, the wall will keep us safe, and the Northmen, or like the free folk, are savages and they should not be allowed beyond the wall, etc., etc. All these kind of ideas that were kind of implemented in his head or implemented throughout his life. And he chose to ignore those. He chose to just see the present moment and see that the real threat right now is the White Walkers, not the free folk. So we should be uniting in order to build a bigger army against the White Walkers. Otherwise, we were just going to give them a bigger army. And in doing so, he was killed at the moment, but then he was resurrected. Unlike any other character in the show. This is why I love this man. But he was resurrected. And I think this kind of emphasizes the point that his ability to live in the present meant that he could exist beyond an idea, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. He could exist beyond a moment, beyond an idea. It's like his destiny wasn't for him. I'm going to be a member of the Night's Watch and this is it. So, which meant that he could see beyond that there was a future for him beyond that. Even when people like the Red Woman or Melisandre's or the Three-Eyed Raven, Brandon Stark, revealed to Jon certain information that could have changed his desires or his claims to destiny. He didn't allow that information to, he didn't allow that information to hold him back from making decisions in the present moment. He didn't think, do you know what, one day I could sit on the Iron Throne, so I'm not going to do this. So instead of just focusing on these kind of ideas of destiny, even the ones that were imposed on him, he just allowed the events to unfold as they would unfold. It could be argued that it was in fact his death, being killed by the people who he thought he was destined to kind of live amongst and, find a brotherhood within, that provided him with the additional clarity to see that there is no set path. And even if there is, in the end, it's full futile, because he tells Melisandre that all he saw was darkness. So even if I do this X, Y, and Z, I'm not necessarily going to find heaven or be in hell or be in some kind of purgatory. Like, there is nothing beyond now. So this is what I will focus on. Even the progression of his actions, for example, the first biggest threat to him was the White Walkers, and so he dealt with them. The next one was Cersei, so he dealt with that. And then the next was Daenerys, and so he dealt with that. At each moment he made the decisions that seemed right in the moment, and he tried to use his best moral compass for each kind of set moment. Jon didn't always know what would come of his actions or his decisions. He wasn't like meticulous or well planned like Littlefinger. He didn't have a set of methodological stages or phases that he would do, unless it was maybe fighting in a kind of war. But again, even then, he didn't really have a set plan in a way. For example, he killed Daenerys when the dragons were literally right there. Like, he could have done it in secret. He could have poisoned her. He could have done something that could have let him off the hook. But he saw in the moment that Daenerys is a big threat to everyone here. She's just killed a whole bunch of people, and this girl's a little bit insane, and I think it would be better off if she's not here right now. So I'm gonna kill her. So like he just makes the decisions then and there. And I mean, the dragons could have just burned him to a crisp, but they didn't. He didn't see beyond that moment, but he knew it was important to act in that moment, and in doing so, in remaining present, he remained alive. So is that the answer? To embrace the present moment, to live in the now and not make decisions based on an abstract future or an idea of what we think our destiny is? Can we say that Jon Snow survived because he was willing to disregard the rigidity that thinking we know our destiny imposes on us? It seems that Littlefinger, Cersei and Daenerys were so fixed on one thing, on their idea of destiny, that it actually prevented them from achieving their full potential.
Every time I'm faced with a decision, I close my eyes and see the same picture. Whenever I consider an action, I ask myself, will this action help to make this picture a reality? Pull it out of my mind and into the world. And I only act if the answer is yes.
I mean, each one of those characters were very skilled. They had positive things about them that they could have positively attributed to the world, given to the world. For example, Daenerys inspired hope. Littlefinger was a great planner. I mean, he was very sneaky, but he was a great planner. That, you know, he was a great deals person. He could have made great deals and helped bring more food, more materials, more wealth to the land. But he decided not to. I am struggling to get a positive point for Cersei, but if any of you got one, comment down below. Like, I would be like, oh, she was a great mother. She was so loving to children, but the fact is that she only loved her children and her own family. So yeah, there was that. Yeah, I don't really see how Cersei would have benefited the world at this point in time, but we're just going to assume that she could have. I think as well, as humans, for the most part, we are ego-driven creatures. We are motivated by our desires, which in the Game of Thrones, speaking from the perspective of Game of Thrones, I feel like a lot of people's desires were money, power, revenge, lust, which, now I'm thinking about it, isn't actually that different from us humans or our world. But it seems from analyzing the Game of Thrones characters that these desires and following them to a kind of a fault was their downfall. So is it that we must drop our egos and embrace the present moment to survive? We saw Jon returning to the wall with no power. He could have claimed the Iron Throne, but he accepted his fate. Even putting in another character here, we saw Arya. A little example of Arya's way of kind of embracing Amor Fati was that she had this kill list, and she went to Westeros to kill Cersei. That was her intention. But at the end of the day, she realized in the present moment that if I go and do this, if I try to reach this idea of destiny that I have, I'm also going to be killed in the process. Because it's a bit mad in here. And she tried instead to help those around her. And in doing so, she went on to be able to explore the world. She went on to having her freedom. And although that meant that she couldn't fulfill this kind of idea of her kill list that she had, it meant that she could survive and live on.
What happened?
I came to kill Cersei. Your queen got there first.
So is that it then? We must become lovers of our own fate or destiny, happy with not truly knowing how it will all turn out. I guess, as we've seen, that it is better that we are more fatigued, because, well, thinking you know your destiny will get you killed. Well, not literally. Okay guys, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching it. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Yeah, let me know what you thought. I love doing these, and hopefully we have another one coming soon. They take a really long time. They take a really long time to like film, edit, plan, so there's a lot that goes into this, but I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.
niggas been counting me out. I'm counting my bullets, I'm loading my clips.